So I've gotten quite a few messages of people asking for advice for new horse owners. And if you're a new horse owner, then you recognize pretty quickly that there is a lot of information out there. And sometimes it can be difficult to disseminate between what's good information and what's bad information. So I put together a list of the 5 biggest mistakes that first-time or inexperienced horse owners do. So number 1 is leaving your horse's halter on. You don't want to leave your horse's halter on when you turn them out in pasture, or even when you have them turned out in a stall. If they're not going to be tied or monitored, then you don't want to leave a halter on. And there's a really couple of practical reasons why you don't. For one, they can get a halter hung up on anything, whether it's a T-post or a fence post. They can get that halter hung up on that and begin to feel trapped. The other reason is that if your pony goes to put their head down and they go to scratch on their face with one of their hooves, they can get that hoof caught in that halter and they can get trapped. So as a rule of thumb, if you're going to turn your horse out, or you're going to turn your horse out into a stall, or you're going to leave them unmonitored, go ahead and take that halter off. Don't leave them with that halter on. It can be very dangerous for your horse. Okay, so number 2 is treating your horses. A lot of people like to treat their horses, and it's really fun to be able to see that instant gratification that a horse gets, you know, when you offer them a treat and they're licking and chewing and salivating, and you can tell they're really excited about it. But it's also really easy to turn that excitement into a sense of entitlement with your horse. And what will happen is your horse will begin to always expect that treat from you, and your horse will become very pushy really quickly. So that means that your horse will be coming into your space, pushing on you, knocking you down, doing anything that they can do to get that treat, because that's kind of the expectation that you've built in your horse, that whenever you go to see them, that you're going to give them a treat. So for new horse owners, I know this is really, really hard, but I encourage you, do not treat your horse. Try to first create a relationship built on mutual respect. You know, your horses also enjoy when we go up and we rub and love on them. We take a deep breath, give your horse a good brushing, do other things that you can use to reward your horse. Don't just solely treat your horse. If you're going to treat your horse, always do it after they've done something good for you. So for example, if I had a treat, I'd pull my treat out and I'd ask my pony to maybe back up. I'd maybe back my pony up a little bit, and then there my pony backs up a little bit. I'd give her a rub first. I'd make sure that she stands politely away from me, that she's not pawing or pushing into my space, and then I'd offer her a treat and allow my horse to enjoy that treat. So really important, you don't want to just shove treats all the time at them. If you are giving them a treat, don't give them more than one at a time. You know, you might give them one, let them work for it, and then give them another one maybe later on at the end of an exercise or something like that. But to just be constantly giving them treats, you're going to create a monster really quickly, really fast. Number 3 is listening to other people's horse advice. Let me tell you, there is no shortage of horse people who can tell you what you're doing wrong with your horse, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. There's a whole ton of unsolicited advice out there. And I want to encourage you to, yes, of course you want to be polite and take people's advice, but make sure you check things out. So if somebody gives you a piece of advice about a horse or what you should do with them, a couple things I want you to keep in mind is, one, it should make basic common sense to you, okay? So if it seems like it's dangerous or it seems like it doesn't make sense, go ahead and disregard that until you confirm that that's actually a good piece of advice. And so the second thing I want to tell you is to confirm that. So go online. There's so many good horse resources out there. Get on Google, get on YouTube, go online and search out some of these things that people are telling you that you can do with your horse. You can get on a horse forum and see if it worked for anybody else or how it might not have worked for somebody else. But it's good to be able to learn from other people's experiences before you go and apply whatever horse advice people give you. Number 4 is that most people just don't tie up their horse enough. As a rule of thumb, I like for my horses when I'm training them to spend at least anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour tied. And a lot of people say, well, that's a long time. But really it's not. It's good for them, especially after you've worked with them, to kind of let them stand tied and sit still. It gives their minds a chance to kind of relax and gives them some time to soak in whatever you just did with them. Because the moment you just turn that horse out into pasture, what happens is their instinctive brain kicks right in, right? And so they start thinking about eating or playing with the other horses or fighting or getting water. All of these instinctive things that cause them to run, to be flighty, all those types of things. What we want to do is we want to encourage our horse to be really thoughtful. We want that head nice and low and relaxed. So after a good workout, a good exercise, I like to let my horse stand tied, again, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, even if it's just 20 or 30 minutes, just for enough time for that horse to get comfortable where they're not pawing really anxiously to be untied. And the worst thing you can do is if you see your horse pawing is to go untie them, because then you're rewarding that impatience. We really want to encourage them to be patient and to be okay just sitting and standing tied there without having to do anything but have an opportunity to relax. So number 5 is not securing things well enough. And so that could be anything from maybe your fences, making sure that your fences are secure, to maybe that barrel that you put your feed in. Make sure that everything is secure. Horses can be very mischievous, and if they can get into something, I guarantee you they will. So you want to make sure that you have things screwed on tight if you've got things that have lids on them. You want to make sure that you put extra latches on things so that horses can't just figure out how to lift things up and get into them. And of course, with gates and fences, you want to make sure that they're shut and fastened securely so that a horse can't actually go in there and try to squeeze through something and end up getting a head trapped where they could hurt themselves pretty badly or getting a foot trapped into something. So make sure that things are very secure for your horse. You can never over secure. So again, you want to make sure that you take your time, go through your fences, go through your feed bins, your stall doors, make sure that everything is going to be okay so that you don't get yourself into an unnecessary bind where your horse ends up having a bad experience because either they got trapped or they got into a grain bin and they end up getting colic because they ate too much grain, or they end up foundering, or a number of poor things can happen if we don't take the extra necessary steps to be precautious to make sure that our horses don't get into things that they shouldn't. So I hope you enjoy these 5 things that new or inexperienced horse owners tend to do, and maybe this will help you to avoid some of those traps so that you can set your horse up to be successful, to be healthy, and to be safe.